Welcome to this final learning module that deals with how to write body paragraphs and the conclusion. Let's review what you already know. Which of the following is correct? A topic sentence relates to the main argument of the paper because it A. states a claim that supports it, B. ties paragraphs together, C. preferably appears as the first sentence, D. can be any sentence in the paragraph. If you can remember back to Module 1, all of these options are correct. For you to develop a habit, we ask you to write the topic sentence first. Let's review why that is. The topic sentence, the first sentence of each body paragraph, features a claim that relates to the argument. Let's look at the structure of a paragraph in greater detail with the figure on the screen. The figure shows the relationship between the argument, the thesis statement, the top box, and the claim, the topic sentence, or the first box under the line. The claim both supports the argument and summarizes the point of the entire paragraph. So every body paragraph begins with a claim, but sometimes needs a transition, the box you see called introduction, before the evidence. The evidence, clearly labeled, may need to be explained, which is also labeled. The explanation should show the significance of the claim and how the evidence proves that claim. The last sentence, labeled conclusion, should show how the paragraph affirms that claim. This is important, so I'm going to repeat it in sentence form. Sentence 1 in green represents the topic sentence or claim that the paragraph will prove. Sentence 2 in black sets up or introduces the evidence. Sentence 3 in red provides the evidence supporting the claim. Sentence 4 in blue explains the significance of the evidence in proving the claim. This is particularly important for you to do with direct quotes because their significance is not always obvious to the reader. Sentence 5, which may be one or two sentences, either sets up the next sentence of evidence or closes the paragraph. Now let's walk through a complete example paragraph. The first sentence in green contends that George Orwell's 1946 essay has had an enduring impact on thinking about the relationship between politics and language. The second sentence in black makes a bridge between this claim and the next sentence of evidence provided in a particular article. Although the second sentence could have started with the words, for example, this transition sentence better sets up the reader for the evidence. It reads, this impact is particularly obvious in light of the various critical review articles that have recently referenced the essay. The sentence in red shows how Orwell's influence surfaces today in specific words used like activist, civil rights leader, or diversity. The next sentence in blue analyzes how this article reflects Orwell by mirroring his point-by-point analysis. And the last sentence in blue shows how writers still emulate Orwell 63 years later, proving the claim of enduring impact posed in the first topic sentence. So you can see how this paragraph is a complete self-contained unit. You can also see that a paragraph should have a minimum of 5 sentences, but never less than 3. Therefore, the first sentence in any body paragraph should always be your words. And the last sentence of analysis in the paragraph should also be your words. Neither one of these should ever have citations. Now that we've discussed paragraph structure, looked at it graphically and in words, and walked through a complete worked out example, it's time to put your skills to work. Based on what's provided here, look at the next paragraph from a student paper, supply a topic sentence, and a sentence of analysis. The claim or topic sentence must cover the entire scope of the paragraph, both the delays in security clearance and the legal requirements. Thus, the proposed topic sentence reads, the secret clearance process is creating undue delays that violate current law. By the same token, the sentence of analysis at the end represents a, so what does this mean? What is the take-home point? To me, it boils down to, thus the security process must be improved to fill top security positions in a more timely way that conforms to law. Now let's do it again. Look at the following paragraph and supply a topic sentence or claim that summarizes what the paragraph proves. Then insert any needed transitions, whether a single word or an entire sentence, and write one sentence of analysis showing how the evidence proves the claim. This paragraph covers the consequences of illicit drug use on the nation, its cost, and its impact on federal agencies. Therefore, the topic sentence or claim must cover the scope of the complete paragraph and reads, illicit drug use has devastating consequences on the nation and its federal agencies. The sentence in brown and the highlighted words serve as transitions in the paragraph. The full sentence sets up the next sentence of evidence as it reads, aside from the staggering economic impact, the high prevalence of illicit drug use affects other domains outside of the Homeland Security enterprise. In this way, you tell the reader that you're moving from economic to other impacts outside of Homeland Security. I added the transition likewise between different pieces of evidence, just as the word similarly was also there to help readers see how these facts compare to one another. The so what of this paragraph reads, thus drug use reduces national productivity, consumes a large share of the federal budget, and fills our prisons. That's my personal takeaway as a reader. Take a look at your Introduction to Homeland Security paper and analyze your body paragraphs. Did you have topic sentences? If not, can you write them? Did you have sentences of analysis to wrap up each paragraph? If not, can you write them? This will be a critical practice for your thesis. Take 10 minutes to review your paper now. One last point. In any research paper, you will need to feature a counter-argument. You cannot win an argument if you've not shown how your argument defeats that of your opponent or opponents. What does this look like? If the claim were that climate change plays little to no role in California's megafires, what would subsequent sentences need to show? Evidence at multiple levels, scientists, firefighters, people who live in fire areas who've seen repeated fires, would be needed to counter this claim. But you might not be able to show it in one paragraph, it might take two. Your counterclaim could read, at worst, climate change is a secondary cause that exacerbates or intensifies other conditions. Provide evidence that it's a secondary cause, address doubts raised by climate change deniers, and offer evidence that overcomes those doubts by showing some consensus on climate change, the rise in temperatures, the increase in drought conditions, the shrinking of lakes. You would have to make an illogical analysis of facts to show climate change as a likely contributor. In your conclusion, as we've said before, restate your argument in the first sentence in light of the evidence presented, or answer the research question that you posed at the beginning. Then briefly review the significance of the evidence, minding the conclusions of each section of the paper and showing how those pieces of evidence relate to each other. Finally, put the research question back into the larger context of the issue and suggest what the next step the research might take, the logical conclusion one might make about questions that remain to be answered. The place of a conclusion is to wrap up, so don't feature new citations or any citations, no new evidence, no new wrinkles, and no hurried recommendations that are not grounded in the analysis already presented. On the screen, you see the structure of a conclusion. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. You must restate your argument or return to answer your research question right away in the first sentence. Then feature one sentence that addresses the best evidence or proof from each body paragraph and its significance. Don't just restate the claims of each paragraph, but tell us what it means to the argument you've presented. Wrap up with a big "so what this means to the research" and what the next step might be. To give you one example from an artful conclusion, here's one written by a University of Wisconsin professor, Ellen Samuels. She restates the main idea of the argument by saying, "While many questions about the McCoys remain, and many truths can be drawn from their lives, at least two things are false: the tale of the beneficent and beloved slave owners and the resigned, downcast expression on Millie's face in the altered picture." The conclusion goes on to comment on the significance of the article just presented. Moreover, turning away from historical legacies as complex and dangerous as those of enslavement and enfreakment keeps us from understanding them and imagining different futures. Paradigms of analysis allow us to perceive and interpret both the radical empowerment of the McCoys' lives and the oppressions that are fundamental to their story. Then she goes on to tell us how such analysis will affect the viewer. Such an analysis must allow for dissonance, contradictions, and even discomfort in its gaze. In other words, looking at oppressions makes us profoundly uncomfortable. Only then can we begin to shape new representations and possibilities for extraordinary bodily experience. Before concluding, let me leave you with a few thoughts that you might consider as you draft your conclusion. You might consider, how can I reflect on the problem that I outlined at the beginning of the paper with the new insight provided by my paper? How is what I've found add to the understanding of the problem? What are the limits of what I've found that others could pick up on in the new research? And what are the consequences of the strongest idea that comes out of this paper? What does it mean? What are its implications? Noelle Yukias and I share the review of the introductory papers, and we're happy to answer any of your questions about body paragraphs and conclusions.